any different, right? So with all that being said, I don't know if we need to do a official roundtable and invite yourself or introduce yourself. But what I will say is if you start talking to just say your name, your title, and what institution you are at. We did not get any questions submitted in advance. I know that it is January, so I'll just go ahead and throw out the question to get things started. Would be just if anybody had anything they wanted to share about their experiences with the start of a new semester, moving people back in, etc. Were there any challenges that came up? Anything in particular, something new that you tried to help navigate this? What did that look like for you? I can put Beth on the spot because she has people moving in this weekend.
Some people probably already had people move in last weekend. Some people probably have people moving in this weekend, all that stuff. I've tried a new coffee. I mean, it doesn't make me like as jittery at 3 o'clock and I'm not craving more at 3 o'clock. So that's the only thing I've done new for this move-in. I tried a new coffee. It's really good. It's got hot cocoa in it. It's awesome. But that's the only thing I've done differently for this opening than other openings. So I don't know. It's spring opening. I actually think spring opening is harder than fall, but that's just me. Because students get academically dismissed and new students are coming in and people want to move rooms. And why don't you have a room for me? Everybody checked out it. I go, they didn't check out. Their stuff is still in the building. So it's just very interesting. And yeah, so I actually think spring is harder because in the fall I have like clean, empty, nice rooms that everybody can move into. So I had a mom already upset because she just moved her son in today and his room stunk because he didn't take his garbage out before Christmas. And she thinks it's our job to do that. So I already had to deal with her this morning. So I would much rather have nice, clean places in the fall than deal with spring move-in, but that's just me personally. But anybody else try anything new with spring move-in that was maybe exciting or fun or another way to handle the world of everything? Oh, by the way, sorry, I didn't do what James asked us to do. I'm Beth Ackman. I'm the Director of Housing at City Morrisville. We are in central New York in the middle of a, I guess, ice storm. They sent all the kids home, like all the little kids went home. Because I'd make sure my little fidget was good and covered while I was at work. And I am the chair of the Small College and University Committee for FUI. So again, you'll get an email from me after this. But anything anybody else used? Anything fun?
Yeah, we had to prepare for all of our entitled students. This sounds very elementary, but we literally put a sign, I zip tied a sign to the bed that was left open and said, "Welcome, this is for you." And then a very bright yellowish green letter explaining why that bed was not for remaining residents, because we'll have about 150 spaces either kind of melt over the fall and then graduation. And then we literally almost have the same exact amount of global students coming in. So we did that in order to reduce the number of angry inquiries that we would get over the break and during the week that they're all returning. And it actually worked. So yeah, I'm shocked. It went from the original idea of putting a sign and then saran wrapping it around the mattress to say, don't push these together. This does not mean that you get a king size bed now. But truly, it seems super elementary, but it really worked. And we did. Of course, I sent the preemptive email to all of President's leadership team to say, this is what we're doing and this is what these documents look like. And it's to prevent people from assuming that they have an empty room now. And we didn't get any complaints come our way. So I don't know if anyone else is getting a ton of new students every spring, but it's happening exponentially more than the last few years. So we really had to get creative. I'm so sorry. I'm Denise Golden, Director of Residence Life at Gannon.
I love that idea. Zip ties, yes, because I was wondering, like, we send out the emails and stuff, but that is a great idea. And use just a bright yellow piece of paper that said this is assigned to so-and-so.
If anyone wants to email me after, or if we have a group list after, I can just send the documents, because one was just a very nice welcoming sign. And I thought, I don't want anyone to say that it blew off. And we had the RAs during closing take pictures of each room that I've literally put this sign on this bed. And so if the student moves in, they can cut the zip tie off. But the other student received a bright yellow letter on top of their bed that explained, you know, we expect that you're going to be a welcoming resident, or you're going to be welcoming to someone new. And so please leave all of this, the dresser, the bed, everything, not just don't take the mattress, but leave that entire side of the room open. And it went so much smoother this year than it has the last couple of years. Because yes, we can email till we're blue in the face, but this is a physical notice. It also lets the student know that this was our expectation when they move in. So I'd be happy to send out the 2 very simple little things that we did.
No, that's a good, thank you, Denise, for the segue. Should also mention, so we have formed a sub community on the ACULI online community specifically for small college staff members. So that would be a great thing, Denise, that if you could, I'll make sure that we get the link out again afterwards. If you could upload that, then that would be something that would be sitting out there forever and would save you the trouble of having to email 27 different people. But that's a great chance to send those. And again, I think, and also thank you for kicking this off with a really good example of the type of hard-hitting challenges that come with a January move-in. Do a lot of people, I would also imagine this is a time where students are coming back from, say, study abroad, maybe internships and so forth. Any challenges with incorporating them back into the housing fold after they've been gone for a semester? I saw some nodding heads that are dealing with this. I will take it by the silence that everything went perfectly smoothly.
We have international that come in at our school, like we have an international program. So that we have our students that are going on an internship, and then we have our international students moving in. So it's making those spots. So I love Denise's idea. I just shared the online community with everybody. It's in the link, so feel free to add that to your stuff. And you can make it so it emails you in the middle of the night, and you can wake up to an email. Unless your email dings, then please don't make it email you in the middle of the night. But it can also send you stuff. We try to get as much out there as possible, and it's where we can share information, ask questions that small colleges and universities specifically can answer. It's on top of there's a large community too. So if you guys want to use that, feel free. Denise, if you want to load your stuff in there, that would be cool. Yeah, we just want to be able to use resources to communicate efficiently and effectively with everybody.
Who else has a question that they'd like to hear from their colleagues, what they're wrestling with and possible solutions? AJ?
Yeah, hi everybody. AJ Place, he, him, his pronouns, associate dean at Middlebury College in Vermont. I don't know if this is necessarily a problem or a conundrum, but I'm curious. So we switched housing softwares about a year ago. We're on Adirondack. Well, I guess now it's technically StarRez because StarRez bought Adirondack, whatever, that's the whole thing. So we're on Housing Director, and we are gonna try, we think we're gonna try for the first time they've got a process where you can, students can check themselves in, and I'm curious if anybody's used that and how it's gone. And that avoids us having to sit at a check-in desk and do that, where they can schedule a time and then they can check themselves in at that scheduled time. I'm just curious if anybody's used it.
We don't have, hi, sorry, I'm Stacy Fisher. I'm the Director of Residential Education at Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. We don't have StarRez, we use RMS, but we have every student check themselves in. It's great until they don't check themselves in. And we are trying to do try to avoid doing traditional occupancy verification. It's just almost more challenging than having them sign themselves online. So we give them a week, we send them reminders, and then the last few stragglers that just haven't checked themselves in, we work with the RAs to follow up to just make sure that they are around. But I will tell you, it has saved a lot of stress for our staff, because even though they might need to follow up, it's following up with only a fraction of the students than they would need to follow up with if we were doing a different set of check-in. And for us, we opened actually on the 13th. So all new students who are new to housing or were changing rooms moved in on the 13th because all the other offices are open that day. And then every other student who's just returning can move in anytime between the 13th. And then we started classes yesterday on the 18th. So because they're rolling in whenever they kind of want to, we let them check themselves in as well. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
We are switching from Seaboard to Star Res, and the Seaboard aspects works, and it does help. Like, we still have to sit kind of on big move-in days because we can't turn their swipes on unless they're cleared with everybody under the sun. But the ones that, like, for spring semester, we use the check-in process and it works really well. We actually can put a hold on them too, like, hey, you're still not cleared to get your swipe turned on. So, and it does make a lot less, like, I call it policing. I hate that word, but that's how I feel. Like, I feel like I'm like, hi, can you please go do your stuff so I can turn your swipe on? But I'm very excited about the Star Res option because I heard it's smoother than what I've been dealing with. But I will know next fall because I'm working on the implementation right now.
Are you're implementing Star Res specifically?
From Seaboard.
From Seaboard. Okay, gotcha. And ironically, Stacy, RMS also now part of Star Res.
Yeah. Star Res owns a lot of stuff now. Like,
Yeah, Star Res bought Adirondack and RMS.
yes.
Okay, we don't use, like, we're not, so our offices is divided, so we're res ed, but then there's residential and dining services. So I'm only looking at things, so I don't know all the exciting news. So thanks for letting me know.
Well, just to prepare yourself, I imagine they are gonna cycle out RMS
Yeah.
software fairly quickly.
Okay, that's great.
Because
That's the rumor.
we
at
were
least.
doing a look for new software and we interviewed with RMS and we interviewed, whatever. They did a presentation for us. We did RMS, we did Adirondack, we did Star Res, because at one time they were all individual. We went to Akulai where was Akulai this year? Pennsylvania. And we went there and Star Res and Adirondack were already together, but RMS was still on its own. And then all of a sudden I'm in like final discussion and RMS is like, Star Res just bought us. And I'm like, okay. So yeah. There's still Seaboard out there. There is still eRes Life. There's still other softwares out there, but Star Res has swallowed up some of them.
Software is often a topic of conversation on these calls, either a how to or should I be looking at this one? And then of course we're using Google Docs and that's how we're making it work. Because again, small colleges.
AJ, going off your comment in the chat, what was talked about between Luis, myself, and James during our last big meeting where we got together to plan out this year is starting soon. We're going to actually have like specific topics for these chats and share that with everybody. And we could do software as one of them. We're thinking about having the talking stick as one, like different resources that Akulai has to offer, but that way you would know, like, this is specifically this month we're talking about housing software. This month we're talking about recruitment of professional staff, paraprofessional staff, whatever. So I can definitely add that to the list. Near the end of this conversation today, we're going to talk about the upcoming small college and university symposium. And we just want to verify that we kind of have the right idea of topics for that. And if there's anybody that you think would present on these topics really good, if you have any questions about the symposium, or if there's a topic we're missing, because we have to start working on that because it's in April. But I definitely will put that down as one of our monthly chats, the software conversation. Great idea. And again, if anybody has ideas like that, like we would like to specifically talk about law 1 month, we can make it so that's our main thing, and we have resources available also on this call. I'm reading the chat. This is very entertaining. I'm sorry, everybody. I like the
Are there
chat.
other software questions that people are working with right now, maybe? And just while we're on the topic. Maybe like just do a quick show of hands. How many people are using homegrown systems? And everybody else then is using a commercial vendor for those?
Since I can't see all the hands all at the same time, if we could just have notes at the end, I would love that, because I really do want to talk to people about what they're currently using and just gaining anecdotal information for myself. So that would be great.
Okay, so really quick, who has a
Maybe
home group?
throw it in the if you're using a homegrown system, maybe just throw that in the chat.
And if you're using a certain software, put it in the chat and I'll add it all up and share it out when I send out an email. Deb, I knew what you were using. Girl,
Thank
I
you
got
so
you.
But weirdly, I've used RMS and gone to their conferences when I was at bigger schools. But not here. And that's okay.
If we could, sorry to add it late, but if people could add in what it communicates with. So for example, I have a colleague on my campus, and I'm being asked to search, even though we know it's not the silver bullet, there is no silver bullet out there. It's just going back to the basics and even just using colleague, potentially a solution. So I'd love to know what other schools. I haven't sat at a roundtable and at a Hawaii in about 6 years. No, I've sat at roundtables. The last time I actually asked this question, who is using this and who is using this and how do they communicate with each other? It's been a while since I've done that poll. So I'd really love to know that. Thank you.
The one that said waiting for approval for Star Res. Congrats, it's awesome. It took us a while to get approved. I hope you get it. I don't know what college that is really quick. Wesleyan University is waiting for approval. I'm so excited. I'm over Seaboard.
Is Wellesley on this call?
Did I see that?
Hi, everybody. I'm Maureen Islip. It's actually Wesleyan University, Wellesley.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's one of the many we get confused with.
Yes.
I was like, wait, I thought they already had stars for a while now. Okay, gotcha.
I have a non-software question. I can throw another one out there.
We'll take it.
I don't know if this applies to anybody else, but I'm curious, does anybody else have an incoming winter first year class? So we have a J term, we're in our January term, our spring term starts in February, and we welcome an entire new first year class. We call them FEBs. I'm curious if anybody does that and if they've got, I don't know, things that they do. And our FEBs have to get placed wherever we have space. So it's very random and it's a very different thing. So any tips that y'all do would be I'd be curious.
I'm curious in a few years to see your retention rates of those. That's awesome.
We've had this for years and years and years. Like
cool.
This isn't a new program, but I'm still just always kind of looking for different ways to how to make sure we help integrate them with the first year class and that kind of stuff. It's a big thing at Middlebury. Maybe we're the only ones.
Well, we're at the halfway point, so this is a good chance for me to do a shameless plug. Looking ahead, on April 19th, ACUA will be hosting a virtual small college and university housing symposium. We are just starting, we're deep into the planning of that. Registration for that will go live at the beginning of February, and we will be spreading that news far and wide, but I wanted to get it on people's radar now. We very purposely make it at a very affordable price point, and we offer what we call teen passes. So for one rate, an institution can register as many people from their campus as they would like. We've had some great experience with this where campuses sort of dedicate a day, or it's not even a full day, it's an afternoon, like 12 to 5 Eastern time. So a half day of professional development for virtually no cost to bring people in. We have started to put together a tentative slate of topics for our agenda. I'm going to throw those out now, which will, for two purposes. One, it will allow people to either say, that's a great idea, I would love to learn more about that, or you can wrinkle your nose and say, I'm not sure that's such a great idea, in which case we can then reconsider things. This also can maybe spur some conversation here as with some of these topics to get things going early. So the topics that we're looking at, and I think these will be applicable to everybody: staff well-being and managing trauma response. We are looking at staff recruitment and retention on a small college. I'm sure none of you are having any questions at all about that. That's just smooth sailing. The unique challenges of implementing DEI initiatives on a small campus. I think when we were discussing that, we were through the lens of on a small campus, perhaps a lot more of that falls onto the housing, the responsibility of that falls on housing departments than it might on larger schools. From a business operations side of things, we're looking at ways to improve communications with students, parents, and other audiences. And based on today's conversation, the answer to that will be zip ties. So thank you very much, Denise, for throwing that out. And then we're also looking at doing a panel on strengthening campus restorative justice programs. We think that that sort of ties in a little bit with that communication aspect. Again, just again, when we have these calls, you know, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but just people forgot how to live with each other over the last couple of years. And I think, again, that's manifests itself particularly so on these small colleges. So we thought the idea of being able to discuss programs around restorative justice, communication between roommates, between hallmates, et cetera, we think that those are all things that are a good chance to innovate around those. So we're throwing that out. Again, I saw a lot of nodding heads, so I will take that as some positive affirmations. That's great. And if there's any about any of those topics that, you know, spurred some thoughts in your head immediately, maybe there's something that you're doing on your campus that's particularly unique. Because again, I think what is great about this and what we really try and do with the symposium and everything is that it's a nice combination of large, overarching strategic thinking, you know, that's happening at the higher levels, but then also very operational, how are we going to get this done types of questions. I told Beth I was going to use her as an example of this. The other day, she and I were talking on the phone, and there's a rustling in the background, and she explains to me that she is in the process of stuffing food into paper bags, because this is as part of their initiative for helping the students that were on campus over break, working with food and housing insecurity. So on one hand, she's working on this large, important, very strategic project to help address food insecurity. And then she's also putting food into bags. So I think that that right there encapsulates the small college experience about as well as anything can. So again, as we dig into these topics, I think that, again, I think you can look for a nice mix of strategic thinking and also operational, get things done. Anybody have any particular examples like that in their world? Debbie, I saw you nodding vigorously.
I just remember Beth talking about that in our last small college meeting, and I thought it was great. I mean, we have like 450 students that live on campus. So, you know, I'm often the person running to the grocery store to get something for an event, or, you know, as the director. So we do all that kind of stuff as well. And then we're multifaceted on our campus too. So you don't just do residence life, you also help with orientation and recruitment and all that kind of stuff. But everybody else does the same thing that's in this group as well.
Is anybody doing anything new around DEI on our campuses, or maybe just giving existing programs a bit of a boost? I was working on another project this morning where I was sort of elbow deep on that subject. So it's been sort of rolling around in my head an awful lot lately as well, but I'd be curious to hear what's happening on smaller colleges' campuses.
I might have mentioned this before. We as part of an initiative around a health and well-being, we've developed a curriculum for employees and supportive students. And some of that stuff is kind of just general. It's a set of videos that folks watch, and then another set of like role plays and or case studies that folks then have an opportunity within their units, whether they be faculty or other departments, to kind of workshop on how to support a student through XYZ. And some of the initial skill sets involves things like motivational interviewing, supporting a student in distress, kind of some of the advocacy-based violence prevention work. But one of the elements that we're adding, and I'm working with a couple of professors on this time around, is on cultural humility and the application of cultural humility in supporting students at various levels of distress. And so, excited to try to get kind of wrap that into thinking about how to think about cultural humility and wrapping that into health and well-being as well. Sorry, I'm Lewis, Vassar College.
Really quick, I know that there's conversation going in the chat about staffing, particularly strategies on how schools are trying to increase staff compensation and be able to actually recruit and retain. And then Denise actually said that she'd be happy to mention their initiatives, I believe. And Denise, I'm going to ask you, if you're attending the small college and university, would you want to present on the roundtable for retention recruitment, if this is something you're interested in? We're just trying to make sure, and also anybody that's interested in any of the topics we talked about, presenting anything like that, please let me know so we can add you to the conversation. Also, if there's any topic we missed or you think we should add on to, please let us know, because we are really trying to build a really good symposium. Okay, I'm going to shut up now.
As an active member of ACUHO-I and occasionally write for the Talking Stick and present at the conferences and whatnot, I actually missed the chance to submit to present this upcoming one. So I'm happy to help in any way, whether it's at ACUHO-I, a virtual roundtable, whatever. I mean, I don't claim to have all the answers, but whenever I fill out these profile questions of, if you go to STARS or NHTI or RELI, what is it that you're willing to facilitate on personnel and org charts, and how we creatively, make these positions and jobs and scope of work meaningful for staff members. And when you have a circle opening, do you have to fill it with a circle? Do you remember the things that we used to play with? Maybe I'm aging myself, with the pegs, and you pull out the circle and you put in the all those different things. So we don't always, I'm a huge fan of not always, you have an RD opening, you don't necessarily immediately have to fill it with an RD. If you have the ability and the flexibility at your school to think creatively and figure out how you're going to not just fill a position, but what's the role that I need filled, and can it be done in a different way? And also, if it's done in a different way, does it allow me to attract a completely different talent to my team? Does it allow me to provide some steps within my organization so that my entry-level folks can see that there's a way that they can progress at Gannon? And if they don't progress at Gannon, how can I make sure that they have the skill set that they want for their next position, no matter where it is? So a few years ago, I started to create a document where I track folks and what it is that they're doing beyond Gannon. So whether it's, I think there's 9 total that I've already tracked. They started as a resident director or a grad hall director, and either have moved on to fraternity and sorority life here, campus ministry here, advancement. So being able to show that people can start in residence life and move on to other positions at Gannon, or that they've moved on to other schools and that they feel like they had a really good broad experience here. I think that's a huge recruitment tool for me, that we don't just talk the talk during the interview about professional development. We can actually hand them a piece of paper and say, or PDF, however we send it to them, and say, these are real life people and their experiences. Our director of auxiliary services, my peer, Adarius Porter, we presented at NACAS together. He started as a conference assistant years ago. And now he's finishing his doctorate here and is the director of auxiliary services. So being able to, if you have the flexibility at your school, to create opportunities for people to get other experiences is a great professional development tool that you can then use to recruit and hopefully retain staff members. The other thing that I do, going back to the first statement of not always filling a resident director, I had 3 one summer. I needed 3 resident directors, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to find 3 of the top, rock stars this point of the summer. It was all happy moves for people. It just happened kind of all at the same time. It was unfortunate. So I was like, well, why don't we do one area coordinator and one resident director? So I can cast my net wider. I can make a larger configuration or area for someone to have like a different experience. And then I can go and look for a couple of staff members that way. So trying to figure out how you can cast your net wider to a different population and gather some talent that way. And we did not go up when everybody else went up to 47 or more. So we are still paying our resident directors $30,000, and I'm using CHI data, and I'm just, best practices and all kinds of stuff to try to negotiate for more salary. And in the absence of being able to do that, I'm saying, all right, what if I have, I have 2 resident director positions open now. Again, happy moves for people, but great, now I'm without. What if I get an assistant director? They live in, they oversee, they have operational functions. And this is for people that want it. Like, they want a broad experience. They're not going to be worked to death. They're going to have a decent, quality of life, but it's a different title that people are looking for. So that's the type of stuff that I do. So I'm not going to keep going on and on, but you don't have to replace the circle with the circle or the square with the square. If you are allowed the flexibility to change things midstream, then I certainly encourage people to do that.
Talking about compensation a little bit for AJ. I got here, I had a director, like very beginning of my career when I was an RD, say that your apartment should be your home. So I'm going to put housing furniture in it that is actual living room furniture instead of college furniture, residence halls, because I definitely took jobs and my apartment was furnished with like the lounge furniture. And I'm like, no. And then also, I'm a germaphobe. For the people that don't know me, Deb knows me really well. She knows I'm a germaphobe. I'm a germaphobe. So I also tell them to, I've had to work this out with physical plant, and I had to get some stuff in writing because you can't just do this, FYI. You have to get some stuff cleared, but I have them take their mattresses with them or dispose of them. But you have to get it cleared. Like, I refer state institution. I can't just say you get your mattress. I had to do a whole bunch of paperwork to get it done. But I don't see the point of someone sleeping on someone else's queen size bed. Just don't see how that's kosher. But anyways, had to get some stuff cleared. You can definitely do that. The other thing is, I talk to them about other compensations besides salary. I tell them, like, you should draw a line outside your door. Students are not allowed in. That includes RAs. Like, this is your home. I also talk to them about food stipends. So at one time they were getting like a meal plan. They didn't work on the meal plan very well. So we switched it up and gave them a different stipend that they use a lot more efficiently. So we have a thing called Campus Cash. Well, Campus Cash can work at 17 restaurants around us. They can work at other locations. One of them uses it to put gas in her car, I found out, because the gas station takes Campus Cash. Didn't know that. Like working stuff out like that with them to say, like, what benefits of your compensation package work for you and what benefits don't work and what can I actually adjust. And if you're saving money, quote unquote, for the college, they're much more willing to adjust with you. So like, their meal plans cost us $1,400 a semester. Their compensation for Campus Cash, they all said $800 would be enough. That's a huge savings. No one fought me on it. Okay, switch the money. We don't care. Things like that. You have to like look at what works. My staff loves that they have like real furniture in their apartments. Also give your staff the option that they don't have to have the furniture that the college provides them. I've worked at schools where like, I want to bring in my own furniture. You can't. Why not? It's my apartment. Work with your physical plant, see what you can do. Let them have their home. And then my other thing is, remind your staff that they can shut their phone off and not follow you for guidance. So like, I might be somewhat of a workaholic. So I tell my staff at the beginning of every year, every semester, hey, just because I email you at 8 o'clock at night does not mean I want a response from you at 8 o'clock at night. I do not expect you to check your email. If you're not on call and you're done at 4 o'clock, I don't expect to talk to you. If I need you, I'll call you. So just like making sure to like respect the lines, it helps a lot for everybody because they also respect you for respecting them. Animals and stuff, we allow, every college is different. Again, you have to work with HR and all that lovely stuff. We allow our RDs to have a cat. They can have up to 2 cats. They can have 2 ferrets. They can have, I don't like ferrets, y'all, I'm sorry. I have an RD with ferret right now. I don't like coming in my office. They can have a bird. They can have fish. They can have a turtle. But if they want a dog, they have to do ESA paperwork with HR, and I have nothing to do with it. And HR just sends me an email saying they're clear. And they have to be, there's a weight limit in the chat. It's the same for the weight limit for us. We do not have a policy that they have to put a deposit down. Some colleges do, that they have to put an animal deposit down for their apartment. We have them sign the thing that if your animal does any damage when you go to move onto another apartment or off campus, that at that time we'll charge you for damages. But everybody's different. Definitely work with your HR and look at what your schools have. Like state colleges have some guidelines. Your institution might have guidelines, but anything you can help them with for well-being, I always say supporting.
Back in December, we hosted a live-in staff symposium, and for the life of me, I wish I could remember the name of the gentleman, but he's the one who does the live-in, live-on survey year after year after year, and that question about
Horowitz.
Yes, about allowing pets and domestic partners and all those things. That's such an invaluable resource to be able to benchmark against that and see what's being offered. And it's interesting to see how those answers have changed over the years. I've been with ACUI for like 17 years, and just like, you know, things like pets, it used to be like the most outrageous thing in the world to think that you would let your live-in staff have a cat, but no, not so much. Let's see here. So I think that's great. And again, like I mentioned in the chat, Denise gets big member bonus points because she mentioned using the CHI data to benchmark against things as well. So again, if you're not using that, I would certainly encourage you to do that as well. Beth, did I miss anything else in the chat as things were going along, or with some other questions or topics that are coming up?
No, but I'm totally looking into the aspect that David wrote about buying their stuff and taking it with them, because some of the stuff, I don't want it to stay here. It's just going to go in a dumpster because it's trashed, but maybe this person wants this half broken couch. Okay. That is a great idea. I'm going to talk to my physical plan HR. With all the stuff I talk about, just know that I do vet everything. It's not like, oh, take your mattress. It's not that easy. I thought it was going to be that easy. It's not that easy. So just always make sure you vet everything appropriately so you don't get in any trouble, because trouble is not fun. I never ask for forgiveness. I always make sure I get all this at the beginning. I don't like to have to come back and be like, I screwed up, even though I make mistakes every day. And Denise,
I'm going to add. So if you check with HR, physical plant, but also whoever does your finances on your campus, sometimes we keep track of depreciation, but it's a really good way to get rid of something that then you can, if you were planning on replacing it anyway.
Yeah, we had to have a lot of people sign off on it. It was not easy. But I do like this idea of maybe the other furniture too. I always tell them I'm really sorry I didn't get that cleared.
I think some of the furniture companies might have a program that I haven't experienced it personally in a school. I've heard of it at other places, and I believe they work with, they might work with furniture companies in particular to support that kind of a program.
That's a good idea. I know there's some companies that you can rent RD apartment furniture, and then that would be something I'll look into. Well, it's nice. This is what these are used for, is to like get new ideas out there and see what we can do. And the ESA thing, yes, we have ESAs everywhere, and it's so frustrating to me that I can't say to my RD, please bring the dog. Please bring your cat. You don't have to do anything, but we do.
Any other low cost, no cost perks that people have found a good way to help attract and retain staff on their campuses?
Gonna throw one more out there. Because we're small colleges, we all wear 100 hats. When I have one-on-ones with RDs, I say, what other area are you interested in? And then try to get them partnered up with that area, because just because they're an RD doesn't mean they're staying with me. Doesn't mean they're going to make a career out of wrestling. What other areas do you want to partner up with, and try to give them that time to partner up with it, so that way they can build their resume. Also, I remind them to get involved in the community, get on like a board of some nature that's not related to the college, because that's their resume and they move on. So like, I'm also the one that if I know someone's searching, I also send them emails and say, here's a job opening for you. Let me review your resume, get some. I'm going to be working with a co-write to see if we can get someone to come in and help review resumes with my RDs, because they already got their job with me, but it doesn't mean they're going to get their next job. So like helping them get set up for a positive transition. It sounds like Denise, you do that already, but like if they feel like you're vetted in them, invested in them, and you want them to succeed, and also know that this is not their end-all be-all job, it helps a lot. So that's what we do, because we're a small college and all of us have to be involved in everything. Like go be a organizational leader or something, or do the J board, or be on the DEI committee, since you're already going to be on it anyways. But, yeah, so stuff like that.
Hi, folks. I'm Scott Wojciechowski. I see pronouns. I'm at Haverford College in Pennsylvania. I'm relatively new. I've been in the institution for the last 9 months, and we have actually introduced live-in staff for the first time. So we have 2 live-in positions, one of which is hired and started in August, and now we're searching for our second. One of the ways I've gotten creative with pitching is, while we are a small school, about 1,400 students, and we don't have graduate programs, we are co-located and very near a lot of graduate programs. Villanova is less than 2 miles from us. We're a quick train ride from Temple. And so one of the things that we're not, in the past, there have been graduate assistantships, even working with Westchester, which is in the area. But one of the ways that I've been pitching it, and with students, or the candidates who have applied or have expressed interest in our current position, I look at the flexibility I'm able to offer if they are taking classes, not in a formal graduate assistantship, but being paid a full-time salary and receiving all the benefits of a full-time role. And then being flexible on the back end in terms of if they are still attending classes. While it's not a formal agreement or a concession from a tuition perspective, even when I think back to when I was living in as a grad student and was only supposed to be working 20 hours a week, let's be real. And I wish I was paid more than the $17,000 I received that year. So fortunately, because we are smaller in our conduct, our on-call is not as hectic as it was at the large state institution I attended for graduate school. That's something I'm able to guarantee and kind of work with based on what on-call looks like, and give a little so that they are progressing academically and thinking about their professional direction while also drawing a full salary.
I think that ability to do those partnerships is fantastic. And again, I also think that's one of those innate skills that you need to have when you're working on a small campus, is to be able to find those partnerships. I was just recently working on a talking stick story. It was about sort of helping staff prepare for mental health support, and it was a small school was partnering with a local mental health provider to come in and give staff training in that regard, through a different program and so forth. So again, I know on a larger campus, maybe there is, a counseling center, or there's a greater resource that you can tap into right in on campus. But if that doesn't exist, being able to find something within the community, I'm sure goes a long way in that regard. No, we're losing a couple people as they're running off to meetings. Now that everybody's back on campus, you actually have to walk to your next meeting. You can't just close one Zoom window and open another one. So we certainly are aware of that. But just real quick, if there's just anything else that someone wants to throw out to the group, something that's rolling around in the back of their brain. If not, I will say thank you all for coming out. Again, a lot of new faces this time. Appreciate that. Hope that you got something from it. Gain some insight into what's happening on other campuses. See if that will impact the way that you address things on yours. And we will be doing this again. I think the next date is February 9th, I believe, is when it happens. So the registration link for that will be out and be available. And again, right around that same time, we will also be spreading the word to register for the Small College and University Housing Network Symposium. Beth, Luis, anything you want to add real quick before we say goodbye?
I was just going to say second Thursday of every month, I think is the.
Yes.
is the way to remember that. So
Yep.
All right.
And that email will be going out since you've joined us. Now that we have your email address, you'll get an email that says friendly reminder, the meeting's coming. And I will try to get one that has all the meetings because we have them all set until the summer. So I'll get those out, and then that way you can also like bother each other and say hi. But I'll get those out soon. And thank you all for coming. I hope you all have an amazing semester. I hope we see a lot of you the rest of this semester. And if not, know that we are here. If you're not able to make our meeting, feel free to reach out. Call us, bother us, email us, any way you want to reach out. And good luck. And drink whatever water source caffeine that you need to get through this semester. Okay?
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care, y'all.
Bye, guys.